is there too low? No, there isn't too low. There is just people who are creative with it and people who are not creative with it. Hello, I'm the Bun. Welcome to the channel. This is the 411. This is a show that is all about your questions and your comments. Today's show theme is highs and lows. So cryptic. Going really low with guitars and going higher, a little higher with basses and trying to make all this baritone stuff work. Baritone news, all right. In guitars, we have Dean Szalinski guitars. Dean Szalinski, he is the guy who founded Dean Guitars. 28.5 inch scale. T-style bodies and a great price, $779. Second on the news list, conversion necks. In the Baritone Obsessed Facebook group, you gotta answer the questions to get in. It's not me, it's the admins. The admins are strict. Answer the questions, you'll get in, no problem. There is a conversion neck list available in the files section, and that list contains, so far, every known conversion neck option in the world. A lot of people always asking questions about conversions. Where do I get a neck? What should I trust? Da 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 da. This comment was left on the Crushing Bass Tone for Heavy Baritone video, and it comes to us from Nick Hill.
Do you think there's such thing as too low a tuning for guitar? A controversial question, I realize. What is your preferred tuning for baritones? Is there a tuning that inspired you the most or led to some of your favorite musical pieces?
Nick Hill. How are you, brother? Hope all is well. For those of you who don't know Nick Hill, he runs a channel called Nick Hill Makes Music. He does a lot of stuff on the HELIX, the Line 6 HELIX guitar production. Check out Nick's channel. Too low, too low. I don't think there's any such thing as too low. You'll hear that from a lot of older people or a lot of stubborn people or a lot of people who are just not interested in going super low. There is definitely a too low for those people. Things really cross over into bass territory. You know, I feel like low E standard, bass E, with a guitar tone and light enough strings, it still sounds a lot like a guitar and you can still grab quite a few chords, far less chords than if you're in G. It's not as clear, it's not as nice, but you can do it. As you go super low, like beyond low E, you start to lose a lot of chords. The tone gets very bass-like. You know, there's that band Loathe, and they don't really sound like they're playing guitars. Are they making cool music? Yes. They're making very cool music and they're very innovative. And they play the parts kind of like you would play guitar parts, but it really sounds like a bunch of basses. Is that bad? No, it's not bad at all. They're artists, they're making art, and you can do it any way you want. And so is there too low? No, there isn't too low. There is just people who are creative with it and people who are not creative with it or impatient. Yeah. There is too low for me, because I have preferences in terms of how I like to play and what I like to write. Preferred tuning. All right, preferred tuning. For me, it's two actually. So low G standard is my main one, what I use for foreigns. And the second would be standard E, but low E, bass E. And just bass tuned to a bass and a bass 6 tuned to the bass as well. Just with a guitar tone. I got the Jazzmaster baritone, which is a 30 inch, and that is tuned to E, and I have the SRC 6, that is also tuned to E. Low G standard and low E standard, love those. Standard because I feel like you have the most creative options with standard. Nothing against open tunings, they're cool, but I just have no interest to get into them at all because I don't want to get into a technical problem, a logistical problem of getting out there and playing and then suddenly having like all these guitars that I need to bring. Nick Hill, I hope that answers the question. I hope this is helpful to other people. This comment was left on Super Low Riff Hacks. It was another 411 episode, and this comment comes from Dead Meat.
Real question here. If you took a short scale bass and tuned it up to G to match the guitar, you could still get a beefy tone out of it, yeah?
Dead Meat, hope you are well, sir. Hope the riffs are going awesome and you're having an awesome day, man. Yes, tuning a short scale bass up. It doesn't have to be a short scale bass. So I did a video a little while ago, bass for your super low baritone, 3 ways to go super low. One of those things is just matching the tuning, I used a 34-inch scale bass. The string gauge was 40 to 95, Ernie Ball strings, I think. Very light bass strings. It was pretty tight, I have to say. It was still pretty tight, but I went up to G. It was decently beefy. Decently beefy. You know, I could do a record with it. I'm doing that now, doing all this stuff in low E standard, you know, some bass sixes and a regular bass. And the regular bass is just the same tuning, but with a bass tone. The big trick for tone, if you're matching the tuning, you know, the bass and the guitar tuning, is the bass amp itself. And two factors really kind of seem to have a big impact. And I would say number one is an 8x10 cabinet type of sound. You know, the Ampeg 8x10, it is a classic sound in rock and metal because it just does this thing to the mids. It scoops the mids in a very good way, and it gets this really throaty, tight tone. So 810s, 610s, Messa's 610 is amazing. If you're using amp sims, same thing, use a 810 or a 610. The second thing would be the mic in the Electro Voice RE20. That's my personal favorite. It seems to just always work, and it pairs with the 810s amazingly, like amazingly. The trick in matching the tuning is getting the bass tone to really be a bass tone, to be really thick. It doesn't have to be really bassy, just thick. Thick is not bassy, bassy is not thick. It's usually around the 100 hertz. There's this magic little zone around 100 hertz that kind of makes things have that dark, heavy thickness. But yes, it works. Check out that video. Tell me how it works out. Dead Meat, I hope you are awesome. I hope that helps in some way. And I hope you have an awesome day, man. Keep riffing those riffs, because the riffs are life. This comment was left on the bass for your super low baritone video, and it comes to us from Justin G.
So with the Meshuggah method, the lowest string will be the same note essentially, but the higher bass strings will be lower than whatever the guitarist is tuned to. Or if a band has 7 strings tuned to G or F, it'd be easier to just use a 5-string tuned to down.
Justin G! Justin G is in the house, all right. Justin, hope you're well. Yes, your first part of your assumption is totally correct. It's just the exact same tuning. So if it's a 4-string bass, it'd be G, C, F, and D. Very easy, same as the guitar. If it's standard G, I think that's what you said, yes. And if you have a 5-string bass, you could put a low C on the bottom, you know, and that would be like a drop tuning. Or you could do a low D, you know, on the bottom. So totally doable, totally cool. If you do that though, make sure that you don't use regular 5-string bass strings. You'll have to put together a custom string set because the strings will have to be very light. I think you can get singles from D'Addario or maybe try Stringjoy. But yeah, you're gonna wanna go probably lighter than I did. On that 4-string that was tuned to G, I had a 40 to 95 set of strings, and I think I could have went lighter. I couldn't get any strings locally that were lighter. You might have to order a set of strings, you know, over the internet, custom set or something like that. As with the previous comment that we addressed with Dead Meat, yes, the bass tone itself, the tone of the amp, whether you're doing sims on the computer or if you're doing a real live amp, the tone is the magic in tuning up to G to match that G. Yes, F sharp. If you do F sharp, it'll probably be easier because you won't have to get these super light strings. You could probably get this 40 to 95 set from Ernie Ball or whoever else. I'm sure everybody makes a super light bass string set. This comment was left on another episode of the 411, Short Baritones, and it comes to us from Sumi Perkle.
About the low G with an 80 string. It has the same tension. No neck will break. Lower tuning equals lower tension. Thicker string equals higher tension. If you balance the two, the tension can be the same as a standard tuning with a lighter string.
Sumi, how are you? I hope all is well. I hope you're having an awesome day. And yeah, I love this comment. This comment is fantastic because I think it really gets to a topic that a lot of people have a lot of confusion on. And I don't know why. Lower tuning, lower tension, thicker string, higher tension. try and balance those out. Something else to consider there is scale length. You know, scale length and those two variables, they make a big difference in terms of going super low. So your lower tuning equals lower tension and thicker string equals higher tension. I love it so much, I added on to it. And I hope this is useful to everybody else. Lower tuning equals lower tension, thicker string equals higher tension. Too low of tension equals decreased sustain and tuning stability. Too high of tension equals decreased sustain and fretting difficulty. Too thick of a string equals more low mid mud and less rich harmonics. Too thin of a string equals lack of body and thinner tone. All of these things matter, and of course, you know, this channel is all about scale length. So if you have the right scale length, you can just kind of string the guitar up so that it feels very similar to a regular guitar tuned to E standard. Even though the strings will be bigger, if you have the appropriate sized strings on the appropriate scale length for a specific tuning, it just feels amazing and it sounds great. Some people like that slack sound, that bow wow wow kind of sound. I get that, but you don't have to get too slack to get that sound. Very smart comment. I hope you're having an amazing day. I hope that's helpful to other people. If you like what's going on here on this channel and you'd like to help it become more, to do more episodes, to just do more, you can help that along in 3 different ways. Number 1, we have Patreon. There are 3 tiers there. There is a $1 to $4 tier, a $5 to $9 tier, and a $10 tier, and up. Sky's the limit. With the $10 tier, it is an exclusive tier where there is exclusive content on Patreon. I get into how I make these videos. We get into the behind the scenes, how all of this stuff happens. On the $5 to $9 tier, you get a credit at the end of every video. And the $1 tier allows you early access to videos and music as they come out. They come out on Patreon first. So you will get them first, even if you're a $1 subscriber. Thank you everyone at Patreon. The second way that you can foster the growth of this channel, if you so feel that is important to you, is through merch. You know, I have t-shirts and all that kind of stuff for sale at my website. I'm pointing at the computer again because the internet is in there. Probably the most important thing is music. You know, this is a music-based channel. I am a musician, I make music, and I have music for sale and for stream. That's it for this episode. I hope to see you in the next episode, and I hope you have a super rad day.